Hello, Moglets. Today is a sort of different video. We're going to be talking about these very, very rare and special crowns, what you should spend them on, what you should not spend them on. These crowns of insight, they definitely aren't exaggerating when they say it's a precious talent level up material. We've gotten maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 of these since the game launched, like almost half a year ago now. I mean, it's pretty easy to check, so we've spent 1 on Kaching. There's no way we've only gotten 4 though, right? I know for a fact I've picked up all crowns that we have been allowed, and I only have 2 level 10 skills out of all my characters. So does that mean we actually get less than 1 per month on average? I definitely have the feeling we've had access to more than 4 since the game launched, but I don't know what to say. In that case, they're even more precious than I originally thought. So the first thing I want to get out of the way is basic skill of main DPS. This is always worth it because this is the character you're basic attacking with. Of course, if you have immediate or even somewhat immediate plans to swap out your main DPS for a upcoming hero or a hero you may or may not get at one point, you should think twice and just keep it at level 9. But if you're very confident in your main DPS, then getting their normal attack up to 10 is never a bad idea. Because again, this is the character you're basic attacking with. All support type characters, I would never get them up to level 10. Most of my supports actually have very, very low basic skill levels. Venti here at 2, Barbara at 1. Ganya is kind of my favorite main DPS as of right now, so she has a level 9. I will probably be getting that up to level 10 once I get this last Shadow of the Warrior thing here. There are perhaps certain exceptions when you run certain teams where there actually aren't many basic attacks going off at all. Just like quick burst rotating your characters and mainly doing their E's and Q's if you have a full team with like short cooldowns. Then yeah, you don't need to care about basic attack too much, but I would say for the general team, your main DPS's base attack is going to be very important. So that, in my opinion, is the first priority. If you really, really love your main DPS and don't think you're ever going to swap out from them, it's a good investment to max out that basic skill. And that's about all I can say as far as general advice goes. And then it comes down to character-specific things. My only other level 10 skill is Bennett's Fantastic Voyage. And I did that because this, in my opinion, is the best ult in the game, and it deserves level 10. It has a nearly 500% damage multiplier, it has healing, it has attack bonus, it has a pretty long duration and a pretty short cooldown, and not a super high energy cost. It's like, literally, how can you get a better ult than this? And that's pretty much how I decided. A lot of skills are just damage, like his Passion Overload here, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to see slightly bigger numbers, then, feel free to raise them high. But I prefer to spend those very, very sacred crowns on, special, interesting, unique skills, such as Bennett's Fantastic Voyage here. Some skills, as you raise them, become better in slightly unexpected ways, such as Xiao's Bane of Evil here. Of course, when you level it up, you get normal attack, charge attack, plunge attack damage increased here, but also every couple of levels, his life drain becomes less bad. So it starts at 3% current HP per second, and that is now at 2%. I believe 2% is the lowest it will go. It's definitely not the main reason to raise the skill, but it is an added bonus that you should always consider when, deciding where to put your crowns. For Xiao specifically, I'd probably also start with his basic, as the bonuses seem bigger here than on his ult, just from looking at the numbers. You only get a 4% more boost here, and everything here goes up quite a bit more than that. We're mainly looking at the plunge damage here, which does go up quite a bit higher. While we're on the subject of skills, I should also note that level 10 isn't anything actually special. It's very, very expensive at 700k gold. It does require 1 of these crowns, 2 of these talent materials, and a bunch of other materials, yet it gives pretty much the same bonus as 8 to 9 does, and the same bonus as 1 to 2. So it's a pretty massive case of diminishing returns. So then the question isn't actually what skills deserve the crown, but rather what skills deserve all of this other stuff. And for me, the 2 main things, basic attack, main DPS, and exceptional skills. This is why I still have 2 crowns instead of 0. Take the following with a grain of salt, as I don't really have experience with Jean, but just on paper, she also has a very loaded ult. Starts with a very high elemental burst damage, and that just keeps going higher and higher. Everything here continually increases with her level, besides, of course, cooldown and energy cost. Those, I believe, either never change or very, very rarely. If I remember right, beta version Xiao's cooldown got decreased as you increased his skill, but it's not like that anymore. I digress. So outside of your main DPS's basic attack, most of their skills, like I said, just increase damage. Bennett's does a lot of other things. There are things with his ult that increase as his level increases that you can't get from anything else. Like the attack bonus ratio, you can't get from anything other than his skill. Sure, you could increase his attack boost by trying to give him more base attack, but there is a pretty hard limit on that. You know, once you have a 5-star weapon and he's level 90, that's it. But for more damage, you can just try and get better artifacts, and there's a much higher ceiling on that. Mona's ult here might be another contender because it does also increase the Omen duration. However, this does cap out at level 7 as a little note there, so you will only get more bubble explosion damage and damage bonus from getting that to 10, but she does have one of the highest skill multipliers in the game, so, you know, it continually goes up like that. The damage bonus here does cap out at 60%, aka level 10 as well, so unless you can get her to C3, then you won't reach that maximum damage bonus without getting it to 10. This next one might be a bit controversial because I know there are a couple Noelle haters out there, but her sweeping time is quite a loaded ult as well, and the attack bonus based on def continually goes up forever, as well as, of course, the burst damage and the skill damage. And yes, while it is technically just more damage, and, you know, you could just get more defense to compensate, I think it is unique enough to be a contender, because at the end of the day, everything boils down to just more damage. Even, you know, Bennett's super awesome ult, you know, it's just more damage for the person who swaps out and is in his ring. At the same time, Bennett's ult does a lot of things at once. I'm sorry, I just really like Bennett and like talking about him. I do want to say another thing about main DPSs though, because we kind of started off the video saying, you know, maxing out their basic is a good idea. Well, maxing out the other skills isn't a bad idea either, because especially early on and even later on, you're going to have your best stuff on your main DPS. You know, the best artifacts you have access to, in most cases anyway, and that means they'll get the biggest advantage out of having, you know, higher skill multipliers here as well. I'm not sure if I'll ever have a 10-10-10 character. Now that I have an Electro Kaching, maybe she'll be my first 10-10-10. I'm not sure. Kind of thinking about it, honestly. Hell, we could actually do that right now, couldn't we? We just need to farm some books. Kaching 10-10-10. Some people say she's not the best 5-star, but she's my 5-star. I should go ahead and mention Zhongli as well. After his buffs, people are using him as a main DPS now, and both of his skills are pretty loaded too, and they get special effects as you raise them. Like, look at all this stuff from his E. His shield gets stronger from the shield base absorption, and then it scales off his HP as well. The damage, of course, goes up, but that's typical. And with Planet Befall, his petrification duration also goes up. It's 0.1 seconds, but yeah, I guess it adds up. Also, this does cap out at level 10, so if you do happen to have him at... Oh no, for Zhongli, you actually need him at C5 to increase his ult. I kind of figured it was the same, because Mona, you get her ult plus 3 at C3. For him, you need C5. Regardless, most people do not have a C3 Zhongli, as he is a 5-star, so... yeah, if you want the full petrification duration, then that would need to be 10. Also, he has a massive skill damage multiplier as well. 900% at level 10. And going back to his E, increasing his shield strength is actually really nice and important as well, because he'll also provide additional utility. Characters protected by the Jade Shield will decrease the elemental resistance and physical resistance of opponents in a small AoE by 20%. So the better the shield holds up, the longer you'll have those debuffs on the enemy. There are certain skills like Ganyu's E here where they do have special effects, you know, the inherited HP here, but even so, I don't think they're really worth level 10, because it's not just a matter of having something unique, you know, it needs to be good. And I don't think Ganyu's flower thing having a little bit more of her HP is all that good or interesting. Taunting in general feels kind of weak in this game, and I don't know, I just kind of wanted to explode anyway. So yeah, I just spent the last hour looking through all their skills on a database, making sure I'm not leaving out anything too obvious. I didn't really touch on healers too much, but they are quite unique. You know, a lot of their skills revolve around, you know, increasing the healing that it does, not necessarily any sort of damage, so it is different in that way. Typically, I don't raise healer skills that high, because they generally scale very well off of their own stats, and less so about, you know, the skill. Usually I'll get them up to 6, like I have Barbara here, And I believe Chi-Chi, I also have hers at, yeah, 6 and 6, and that's generally enough. Of course, if you find you need more healing and you, for some reason, cannot get better artifacts, like Chi-Chi doesn't even have the best artifacts here, but she heals plenty for my, scenarios, then yeah, there's no need to say, well, just raise them for more healing. But generally, you would rather try and work on your artifacts before raising their talents, at least past 6. I think when you're using a character a lot, 6 should be the bare minimum if it makes sense. Like, again, I'm using Venti almost in every team, but his basic is level 2 because I don't use it. And even though it's relatively cheap to get it up to 6, why should I? Also, there's one little unrelated thing I want to say before I wrap up the video. I will be editing this video on Premiere Pro. I've been a Vegas Pro user ever since I started my channel, so I'm not sure exactly how this will go, but I've been wanting to learn Premiere Pro as well, so apologies in advance if this is edited weirdly. I'm still learning. But yeah, make sure to tell me what you think in the comments down below. Do you have a skill that is absolutely worth level 10? Most of the skills that just increased like damage and nothing else I kind of ignored while I was doing my little research there. However, I do understand that there are exceptions, just because it's increasing skill multipliers or, basic attack damage. But outside of that, purely increasing skill multipliers, it's hard to justify the super high level costs, especially, when you're using the crown, 700k gold, and all of those books and everything just for the same increase you got from level 1 to 2, or it's maybe a little bit more. So yeah, most of those I ignored, but if there is an exception for one of those types of skills, make sure to drop a comment in the description below. Leaving a like on this video if you did happen to enjoy is always greatly appreciated as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, really helps out, and I do very much appreciate it. Thanks. As always, are you okay, Bennett? What are you doing? Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.